What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, joined by our Inter Miami beat writer, Michelle Kaufman. We are back to talk a little more Inter Miami. There's a lot going on with this team, as we know that with this, not only with the season starting, but some big news right off the top. Naming rights for the new Miami Freedom Park, and it's called New Stadium. And that's not us saying that it's brand new. These jokes are going to be done to death in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. But it's New Stadium, NU, the company that will be sponsoring the stadium now, a multi-year deal signed as of Wednesday morning. The news broke. Michelle had it. Michelle, I guess we're going to talk a lot more about the team and what happened in Puerto Rico, the mess that was with the exhibition game. But then, of course, the remarkable comeback win over Orlando City, and we'll dive in on how both Lionel Messi played, how Germán Berterame looked in his first game. We'll have reaction from Berterame and Javier Mascherano in this podcast, of course, talking a little bit about how the team stands on the field. But let's start with the stadium deal. Michelle, take it away. You just wrote it, and it's on MiamiHerald.com for anybody watching and listening.
Yeah, well, the new stadium has a name. And I joked in my lead of the story that, Messi made his name for himself and became famous at Camp Nou. And now he will be at New Stadium, a very similar Camp Nou.
Dropped one letter.
Drop one letter. Drop the O. Drop the O. New Stadium, NU, which is New Bank from Brazil. It's a Brazilian financial tech firm, which is New Bank, NU. But the stadium is officially going to be called New Stadium at Miami Freedom Park. So the stadium itself is New Stadium. Miami Freedom Park is the whole development. And there
it is.
For those of you watching on YouTube, this is a rendering of what it's going to look like on April 4th. Now, I don't know if people are going to be dressed like that to go to soccer games. It looks a little funny. People in suits and women in long skirts to go see an Inter Miami game. I don't think so, but you get the idea of what the stadium looks like. Their
looks
color,
more like they're going,
by the way,
looks like they're going to the mall than a game. I mean, at this,
yes, the people need to be changed into Messi jerseys and shorts. But anyway,
right.
The other thing, it's New Stadium. It is interesting that their color is purple because purple is the color of the bitter rival Orlando City. The pink versus purple. Now, the new company, their color is purple, and they are known for their purple logo and their purple coloring. So they're going to for sure be incorporating some purple into that pinkness, and that's going to be interesting. So yeah, it's a multi-year deal. They wanted to expand their brand in the United States, and obviously are spending a good amount of money, although we don't know how much. I will try to get more information on the financials. None of that was disclosed. Not a big surprise there. But it's a multi-year deal. In addition to having the stadium name, they also, that new will be on the back of the jerseys starting in August, I believe. They're going to have a new shirt. Here come the jokes. A new NEW shirt that will have the new NU logo on the back. And also they're going to have some signage around the stadium. One of the more premier lounges is going to be called New Lounge. And then there's going to be a new plaza, which is going to be an open air area, which is going to have like a stage and, a place for large screen TVs and stuff for viewing for other events outside the games. So anyway, you're going to be seeing a lot of new at the new stadium.
Yep. And on that note, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that as more details come to light. But for now, check out Michelle's story online at MiamiHerald.com. I'm sure it'll be fleshed out, developed a little bit more as more details come to light in the next few days and weeks. I would guess about the new deal for the new stadium. Something that was new for this team also was having a victory, because as we know, they got embarrassed 3-0 at the LA Coliseum. I was there. I watched the whole thing happen, losing 3-0 to a team that looks like they are going to be MLS Cup contenders in LAFC. But quick turnaround. They won a quote unquote friendly in Puerto Rico, the game that was postponed because Lionel Messi wasn't able to participate the first time around. Messi scored in that game, and then the one that counted, the remarkable one, speaking of the purple, speaking of Orlando City, that one got a little ugly too. Also, when it comes to the fans, big shock, since that one always seems to get ugly when it comes to the two clashing fandoms in that rivalry. But Miami, the important thing, 4 unanswered goals in the second half, comes back from a 2-0 deficit. It could have gotten really ugly for this team early in the season. Again, very long season, but you didn't want to start 0-2 with such a sour taste in their mouths that it looked like it was headed that way after a half. But of course, Messi gets the guys going. They rally. All of a sudden now Miami on the board with 3 points in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to start with the Puerto Rico game. The Puerto
Let's start with
Rico
the
game,
let's
I
start
know
with
it
the Puerto
seems
Rico
Puerto Rico
debacle that it
game, I
was.
know it seems like ancient history at this point, but we'll quickly go through that because it was so crazy. First of
Yeah.
all, the game was after being delayed because of, postponed, then it was delayed an hour. You're sitting there watching on, by the way, bless their hearts, but not a great broadcast on One Football. They tried their best. But anyway, you're sitting there watching, and the game isn't coming on, and no one knows why, and the announcers don't know why. And they're like, well, it seems to be that the game is delayed here. We don't know why, but we will keep you posted. And we still don't know why. And it went on for an hour. For a full hour, no one knew why the game was postponed. Then all of a sudden, the two teams both come out wearing identical black uniforms, black from head to toe. Okay. Now, my daughter played youth soccer for many, many years. I'm telling you that even the Pinecrest Premier U12 team, when you showed up with the same color uniform as the opposing team, you had to go into your
Go
backpacks
change.
and take
Yep.
the other uniform out and switch. I mean, this
Yep.
is,
It's basic.
light and dark, different colors. No, there was a confusion with the uniforms, which it turns out was the reason for the 1 hour delay. The 1 hour delay was because of a complication with both teams wanting to wear black. It's never been fully explained why it was so imperative for both teams to wear black, but they come out in the end with both teams wearing black. The only difference was the numbers of the Inter Miami was in pink and the other one's numbers were in white. But it was very confusing to watch. I don't know how the players who were playing really could distinguish their team from the other team. Any errant passes in that game, we'll have to just chalk it up to maybe they thought they were passing to their own teammate and they were passing to the opponent. Um, but anyway, it was kind of a crazy game. Um, Messi did score in that game. He scored on a penalty kick, and the first goal of the season. In that game, the first goal after the 3-0 debacle, the first goal was scored by someone you would never expect, Santi Morales, the 18-year-old son of Javi Morales, the team assistant, because almost none of the starters played. Started. They played in the second half, but the first half there were only two regular starters in that game. All the rest of the starters were on the bench for the whole first half. And so they played a lot of young players and players who didn't get much time, in the preseason and in the LA game. So anyway, Santi Morales gets the first goal of his professional career. So it's very exciting for him, even though it was in that crazy game. He got his first professional goal, and then Messi scores again, a PK. Then late in the game, real quick, I just want to bring up that in the 88th minute of that game, all of a sudden, uh, about a half dozen pitch invaders come running onto the field to try to get to Messi. And, it was not one, it was not two, it was not three, it was several go running onto the field. And by the way, one of them did reach Messi, and Messi was knocked over while the security guards were trying to restrain this fan. They end up knocking over Messi. And I'm watching this, and all of us, I'm sure, had the same thought, which this is dangerous and this is
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
He could have been injured. Thankfully, he was not. He was able to stand up and brush it off, but he could have been injured. He could have been injured. And for an exhibition game that did not need to be played once the regular season had already started, it just seemed to be a crazy risk. And clearly the security was not up to par because there were so many fans just running around on the field. It was complete chaos for a little while. Then they finally corralled them all, took them off the field, and then they resumed the game. They resumed the game and they ended up finishing the game. So, anyway, I'm sure that they were thrilled to just get on that plane and get out of there because it was a mess. It was a messy mess. But yeah, that was kind of crazy.
Come on, Michelle. We have enough puns with the new. We don't need the messy mess on top of that, too. I'm just kidding.
We're doing the all pun. This is the all pun episode.
This is the all pun episode. It has to be. It's going to be like that from now on with the stadium deal. But no, but in all seriousness, yeah, the last thing you need is some insanity on the field. I mean, you never know when these guys jump on the field. Let's be honest. A lot of them are autograph seekers and they just want to go and get a selfie with Messi. But these days, who knows? And that's serious. And all kidding aside, that is not good.
Not good. Not good. And by the way, Messi's bodyguard, Yassine, has been showing up now again on the scene. So I think we're going to be seeing more of him. He had been sort of, pushed off into the background, and he's going to be in the foreground now because they have to be careful. They have to be careful.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that game,
not just Messi, but anybody, any of the players.
Anybody. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that was a crazy, crazy game. And then they came back and turn around and go to Orlando. And, there was some question. The fans in Orlando were concerned. I was getting all these texts and DMs like, is Messi really going to play? Is Messi really going to play? Because on the social media post that the team puts out the day before when they travel, they usually show Messi getting on the plane. It's like wheels up and it shows the players getting on the plane, and it almost always shows Messi. But they did not show Messi. All of a sudden rumors started flying. People started writing me, what's going on? Why isn't Messi on the wheels up? The wheels up photo did not show Messi. That means he's not there. That means he's not going to Orlando. What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And I checked with the club and they said, yes, he's there. He did travel. I posted that. He did. He traveled according to a team source. But anyway, he did travel. Luis Suarez, by the way, did not travel. He had some tendonitis in his knees that flared up, and they decided to leave him at home to rest. But Messi definitely showed up. And Andre, go through the game a little bit, and then we'll hear from Dado Allende. We'll hear from Javier Mascherano. But what a game! What a game!
What a game! And once again, I think I've said it, without being biased or anything, but I really like Matteo Silvetti ever since last year. I love the energy he brings to this team, the ability for a young player, and that was a key replacement that Mascherano made in the game. He took out Noah Allen, replaced him with Silvetti, and all of a sudden, 4 minutes later, bam, they tie it up. The spark that they needed to get that going in the second half. Telasco Segovia, of course, jumps in and he contributes. With 4-2 on Messi's free kick, which vintage, of course. We never get tired of seeing those Messi free kicks. They're a thing of beauty, and it showed again in this one. But again, just the way it's interesting. It doesn't surprise me. Orlando fans taunting Miami. That's like the sun coming up. But the fact that Messi and everybody else kind of gave it back to him at the end of it. I mean, I know there was even like a meme of him doing something like autograph or something. I don't know if that really
hey, you want my autograph
like,
or note
you want
this?
my autograph type of thing, right? I like that. That's it. That's interesting though. It's always spicy between these two, but it's cool to see that he's so into it that comes out at the end.
Yeah. That game, the first half, things were not looking good, even though they were possessing the ball. They had the majority of possession, as they often do. Yeah. But all of a sudden, they give up 2 goals. They give up 2 goals. They're losing 2-0. And as that is happening, you are seeing the Orlando fans started, yelling obscenities, lifting up their middle finger toward Messi, yelling stuff, yelling ugly things. And apparently, even the Orlando bench, some assistant coach said something or gestured, something went on between Messi and their bench, okay? Because that I'll go back in the what happened after with Messi with taunting them. But the team was looking in a very vulnerable position going into halftime, down 2-0. The commentators on TV were super surprised. On social media, People were already jumping on saying this team is overrated. This team is not so good. This team, they're never going to be the same without Boosie and Jordy. This is terrible. This is a disaster. Oh my God. Because at that point, they had been outscored 5-0 from the start of the season, 3-0 and 2-0. So here they are in the middle of their second game, and they've been outscored 5-0. Not the start that they wanted. Javier Mascherano at halftime makes a change, one change. He takes out a defender, Noah Allen. He puts in Silvetti and decides to defend with 3 in back, and instead pushes another attacker forward, which is another option that Messi can work with. And 4 minutes later, like you said, 4 minutes into the second half, bam, Silvetti launches a long-range shot. It goes in. The place, the place doesn't go crazy. The place goes quiet. The Inter Miami bench goes crazy. Everyone is super excited. Next thing you know, Messi scores. Messi scores a beautiful goal. And then Segovia scores. And by the way, Segovia had 2 assists. Segovia scores. And then Messi, just to put some icing on top of the cake, makes it 4-2 with a beautiful, left-leaning free kick that went around the left side of the wall into the corner. It was just a thing of beauty, and something that I don't know how many people could do.
No,
so
and
it was
I forgot to mention this was his first appearance in this is year 3 of Messi with Inter Miami, and this is the first time he played in Orlando.
First time in Orlando, right? That's why the Orlando fans before were saying, "Oh, he's evading us again. He's avoiding Orlando again. He's not going to come," because he missed the first 3 games in Orlando. He had never played in an Inter Miami shirt in Orlando since he arrived, and wow, did he make his presence known. And then after that free kick, first thing he did is he goes over to the wall, which is the name of their supporters section. He goes up to the wall and puts his arms outstretched and is like, hey, yes, look at me, okay? Which is something he doesn't usually do, but he did it very clearly. Then goes over to their bench, and there was an assistant coach that was writing on a clipboard. He was writing some notes on a clipboard. One guy in particular was writing on a clipboard, and Messi looks right at him and goes like this to the guy with a smirk on his face, like, hey, either we don't get to talk to him, so we didn't ask him. Was he saying, do you want my autograph? Or was he saying, take note of this?
Yeah.
But whatever he was doing, he was saying to that coach, here's something for you to write down. Or do you want my autograph? Whatever it was, he made it a point to taunt the Orlando fans and to go over and taunt the Orlando bench. So yes, the guy still is hyper competitive, and all his teammates always talk about it, but it really is true. By the way, it also was the first time that we got to see Berterame in Orlando, and we spoke to Berterame before that game just about his acclimation, how it's going, being acclimated to the team. I thought maybe we could hear from Berterame and then jump back to the Orlando game. We have a video here of Berterame. It's our first interview with him. Here we go.
Claro. Tanto Leo, Rodri, tanto Suárez, creo que son jugadores de mucha jerarquía que te van a levantar lo que es el deportivo de individualismo de cada uno, y más él, que creo que lo tengo como compañero de 9, y creo que me va a dar muchos ejemplos, y obviamente lo tomaré de la mejor manera.
¿Te ha impresionado algo de Luis, considerando que es la misma posición? ¿Te ha dado algún consejo? ¿Has podido ya ver algo que hayas podido adquirir o incorporar, mejor dicho, a tu juego?
Ya lo venía viendo de la televisión, lo venía viendo de tantos partidos que ha jugado en el Barça, en todos lados que ha jugado. Después que llegó acá también lo estuve mirando y no deja de sorprendernos. Así que, y estando ahora al lado, creo que cada entrenamiento saco lo mejor de él, los controles que tiene, la definición que tiene, la paciencia que tiene dentro del área. Creo que eso es buenísimo, entonces me voy quedando con todo eso.
Germán, Michelle Kaufman del Miami Herald, bienvenido. Tú juegas por el equipo de México, de la selección, jugaste muchos años en México, pero aquí con todos estos argentinos en este equipo, ¿Te sientes más argentino aquí? ¿Te sientes mexicano? ¿Cómo tú te sientes?
No, obviamente son países diferentes. Estando allá en Monterrey también tenía 2 compañeros argentinos y obviamente siempre me siento dentro de todo como un argentino, porque trato de mantener esa calma, y ahora estoy rodeado también de argentinos. También hay un mexicano y también me siento como un mexicano, entonces eso es bueno y eso es lo que me potencia también.
Okay, so that was I just wanted to put that in there because we had not had a chance to hear from him since he arrived with the club. We finally got a chance to talk to him. He was asked about, the reason he came was one of the reasons he came, the chance to play with Lionel Messi. And he said, of course, getting to play with not only Messi, but the other elite players that are on this team, like Luis Suarez, like Rodrigo de Paul. He said these are players that are very high level players, and they raise the level of everybody who plays with them. And he was asked particularly about Suarez being a number 9, playing the same position as him at striker. And he said he absolutely has always watched him on TV, has been familiar with his game, but now seeing him in person and training with him every day, he said that he's really getting a lot from that he's trying to take. And he said just his patience, his control in the box. He said these are all things that are great. He's a great role model for him. And then I asked him, because he is from Argentina, but he played in Mexico for several years and became a Mexican naturalized citizen. And so he is on the Mexican national team, but he's from Argentina. So I asked him, does he feel more Mexican? Does he feel more Argentine? And now that he's surrounded by so many Argentinian players, does he feel more Argentinian on this team? And he said, they're 2 very different countries, obviously. He said when he was in Monterrey in Mexico, he had a couple of Argentine teammates, and he always felt comfortable about that, around them, because of course, at the end of the day, he is from Argentina. And then here again, he's surrounded by Argentinians. He feels very comfortable here. But he said there's also Mexican on the team, which I'm assuming he's talking about Rocco Rios Novo, who's also half and half. And he said that, he feels comfortable with both, and that it's a beautiful thing to be able to feel comfortable with Mexican teammates and with Argentinian teammates. So anyway, yeah, we got our first chance in the Orlando game to see Messi there and to see Berterame, and it was quite a show.
Yeah, and that's the important thing that we had talked about even last week after that LAFC loss, was just this team looking out of sorts because they haven't had time to really gel together yet. They haven't had a lot of the reps because different reasons. Guys were getting their visa issues cleared up, so they couldn't be there full time. Now, a guy like Berterame being there full time is huge, and you're starting to see the outcome of that, starting to see the results of that a little bit.
I want to put in one more before we hear from Mascherano on the Orlando game. I wanted to throw in also that one of the things Mascherano was asked about the halftime change that he made, and he almost was sad about it, even though he was being celebrated. Everyone was saying that this was a great move that he made, but he said that it's never a good thing as a coach. It's never a good thing. And when you have to make a change at halftime, he said what that means is that you had the wrong game plan. He said what it means is that I had the wrong game plan. And he felt bad to expose Noah Allen. He said, I had to expose a player, which I never like to do, because, when you're taking off a guy at halftime, it looks to the outside like, oh, that guy is the reason that they're losing. They're going to replace him. He said it really hurt. He doesn't like to have to expose a player because of what he felt was a mistake that he made in the planning of this game. And he wanted to make sure to single that out and make that point that, yes, it ended up working out. Bringing in an extra attacker was the difference in this game. And that did, ignite the team and changed everything. But he said he wanted to make it clear that it was not a knock on Noah Allen. It was more even a knock on him for not having the right game plan.
Yeah, and it's like benching a quarterback. It's like in football. It's like a similar example. Like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, but it was a necessary move. I mean, he's had to deal with awkward moves in the past. I mean, the famous one, obviously, last year with Suarez. So that's not the first time he's going to do it for the benefit of the
goalkeeper.
Team.
And the goalkeeper.
And the goalie situation, true.
Yes.
Well, let's hear from Mascherano now, talking about that and the Orlando City game.
Hubo corazón, valentía para querer la pelota, resiliencia, compromiso, y bueno, creo que el equipo demostró porque salió campeón el año pasado, ¿no? Al final lo demostraron los jugadores. Esta victoria es de ellos. Sí, creo que no empezamos mal la primera parte. Empezamos teniendo opciones, sobre todo los primeros 15, 20 minutos. Claramente el gol de ellos nos afectó muchísimo. Ahí empezamos ya a tener desajustes, perdimos confianza, nos empezaron a ganar los duelos individuales y bueno, después vino el segundo gol de un saque de arco de ellos que dentro de esa confusión en la que entramos nos hizo caer en un bache y como dije, ¿no? El segundo tiempo, más allá del juego, creo que al final muchas veces el fútbol, podemos estar hablando minutos, horas, días, meses de táctica, de planteamientos, pero al final partidos como este, sobre todo en un clásico como este, te demuestran que al final me enfrento a mi rival y cuánto deseo tengo de ganar. Y hoy el equipo ha demostrado eso, ¿no? Los jugadores han demostrado, han salido el segundo tiempo con mucho orgullo, con vergüenza deportiva, ¿no? En el buen sentido de la palabra, de querer darlo vuelta, y bueno, la verdad que los felicito a todo el equipo porque el segundo tiempo ha hecho un gran partido.
Okay, so he said that this team, he gave all the credit to the players. He said the players in the second half, they played with incredible fire, with heart, with courage, with resilience, with commitment. And he said, basically, he said right before that quote, I remember him saying that in the second half, they played like a championship team. And he said that this victory, they had hit rock bottom with that second goal, that the first goal really bothered them. And the second goal, they were kind of like, they hit a real low at that point. But then in the second half, they were a completely different team. And they just showed so much fire, so much desire, so much commitment. And he said that, in soccer, a lot of times, this is true in every sport, but he said, I think a lot of times we overanalyze. We can spend minutes, hours, days, weeks, months overanalyzing the tactics of a game and all this stuff. And he said, at the end of the day, especially in a clásico, especially in a rivalry game like this, at the end of the day is who wants it more? Who wants it more? And he said that he felt that in the second half, Inter Miami players just wanted it so badly and they willed themselves to win. So, he gave all the credit to the players. Yes, I do think the change, obviously, to Silvetti made a big difference. And once he scored, I really feel like once he scored, when Silvetti scored, that just opened it up for everyone else. I think the whole rest of the team all of a sudden got ignited by that, gained confidence with that. And, and everything just changed. And we have some commentary from Tadeo Allende, who was on the field. And also, he's one of the guys we were talking about, by the way. We also have that, but that's about the Messi gestures. We're going to talk about that after. Yeah. Let's hear from Allende first, because his comments are about the game itself. And then Segovia is going to talk to us about what he's learned from Messi by the gestures that he did. So let's hear first from Tadeo Allende.
Bueno, con muy buen gusto, porque siempre nos costó acá en este estadio, y poder ganar de la manera que lo hicimos y revertir el resultado fue esencial, así que muy felices por eso.
El partido empezó complicado, pero decía Maschi ahora en rueda de prensa, la segunda parte el equipo ha demostrado por qué es un equipo campeón.
Sí, ni hablar, a ver, empezamos muy de atrás, el primer tiempo fue complicado, nos complicaron por todos lados, tuvimos varios errores, pero después salimos con otra mentalidad, lo revertimos y salimos adelante como el equipo campeón que fuimos.
¿Cómo se empieza a construir esta victoria, sobre todo tomando en cuenta que se estaba jugando de visitante, que habían variables que quizás eran nuevas, por lo menos para nosotros de afuera, con el cambio que hace Mascherano en el medio tiempo? ¿Qué hablaron ahí? ¿A dónde se construye esta remontada?
No, a ver, fuimos muy autocríticos en el entretiempo, a ver, teníamos que corregir muchas cosas porque si no íbamos a ir sufriendo toda la noche y no es lo que queríamos. Nosotros vinimos a ganar el partido, empezamos un primer tiempo muy malo, que nos costó mucho y lo pudimos sacar adelante después en el segundo tiempo que hicimos el verdadero partido que teníamos que hacer.
Es algo que de repente jugó en el camerino, Messi les habló, se juntaron los 11 para decir que sacar el partido adelante en el segundo tiempo.
Sí, ni hablar, como se hace en todos los vestuarios. A ver, se habla, se analiza el primer tiempo, los errores, las cosas buenas, las cosas malas, pero bueno, cuando terminás un poco así caliente en el primer tiempo, que nos había golpeado fuerte y estábamos agarrando mucho, uno sale del vestuario queriendo revertir la situación y fue como lo hicimos.
Yeah, so Tayo Allende, he's one of the guys that, like you had mentioned, you know, he had some visa issues and all that, so he's really just getting into form now too. He said that it was especially gratifying to win this game because they had struggled so much at that stadium. By the way, it was the 10th time. They had lost 10 in a row at Orlando. So this was the first time in 11 games that they won in Orlando. So they really did have trouble at that stadium against Orlando on the road. So there were so many angles to this game, why this win meant so much to them. He said that the second half, they just came out a different team in the second half. Every player that we've spoken to since that game said the same thing, that the first half, they just were not themselves. They came out just a little bit sluggish, you know, not fired up enough, which is hard to believe. Why would you not be fired up when you're playing against your arch rival? But they all said that the first half, they were not what they were in the second half, and that Dario Allende said, you know, the first half we played very poorly. We paid a serious price for it. And then in the second half, it was our true team. This is how we're supposed to play. He said that when you come out of a first half and you played that poorly, everybody was fired up. Everybody was angry with how they had played. And so they came out in the second half with a completely new level of fire and commitment and all those things that Javier Mascherano talked about. And one of the ones who did was Leo Messi, because let's face it, in the first half, even the great Leo Messi did not look that great in the first half. He had a couple of scoring opportunities that he missed, and he was not connecting. He lost the ball a couple of times, and he was not playing at his top form either in the first half. Right. So once things got going, you could just almost see him. After Silvetti's goal, Messi was a different player too. All of a sudden, he's like, oh my God, here we go. We scored. I have options. I have another attacker that I can connect with. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's, you know, you could just see his body language changed. Everyone's body language changed, but we always are keeping an eye on Messi, number 10. His body language changed in the second half. And then the fact that he did all that stuff that we talked about, the taunting of the fans and all that, you know, that really showed how much he wanted to win that game. And we spoke to Telasco Segovia, who scored and had 2 assists in that game, spoke to him yesterday and asked him a couple of questions about the game. And the one I asked him is, you know, what do you learn from Lionel Messi when you see him do what he did? So let's listen in on Telasco Segovia.
En el partido. Fue el que corrí más de este partido. En ese trayecto, te quería preguntar justamente eso. Este partido último, se te vio un desempeño físico, por lo menos de mi parte, bastante diferente a los anteriores. ¿Hubo un cambio físico en el tuyo, más trabajo, una mejora que vos hayas notado? Sí, o sea, estoy trabajando mucho en mi físico para poder mantenerme todos los partidos bien y poder correr la mayor cantidad de minutos también.
¿Por qué le ha costado el gustó del equipo en este partido del primer tiempo? Porque de tú a tú no pudieron desarrollar el partido que quisieron. Pero en el segundo tiempo las cosas cambian, son más agresivos y eso les funcionó bien.
Sí, creo que salimos con una gana distinta. En el primer tiempo salimos literalmente dormidos. Orlando siempre en su casa nos sale a marcar, a presionar en el primer tiempo. Nosotros nos dormimos 2 veces, nos hicieron 2 goles y la pagamos caro. Y bueno, creo que gracias a Dios pudimos redimirnos y en el segundo tiempo salimos con la gana y pudimos remontarlo.
Telasco van a mitad de camino en esta racha de 5 juegos fuera de casa. ¿Cómo están manejando el tema de los viajes? Más allá que este fin de semana fue corto, estadios también muy grande.
Sabemos que tenemos muchos viajes este año y también viajes largos. Nosotros estamos con lo de la recuperación, sabemos que tenemos que estar tranquilos este mes, puro entrenando, recuperándonos para poder afrontar la mayor cantidad de partidos, y sabemos que también viene con la Champions ahorita, que es importante, queremos quedar campeones, y bueno, nada, cuidándonos todos para poder llegar de la mejor manera a todos los partidos.
¿Puedes hablar de qué hizo Messi, Leo, el otro día? ¿Qué enseñó de las ganas que él tiene de ganar? No solo cuando anotó, pero entonces la reacción cuando anotó, aunque ha ganado todo ya. ¿Qué dice eso de él?
Como siempre digo yo, o sea, lo que yo me llevo mucho de él es las ganas que tiene y que ya ganó todo y quiere seguir ganando. Es lo que más me impresiona de él, o sea, no quiere perder nunca, de verdad. Eso nos transmite a nosotros como capitán, como figura, nos transmite a nosotros. Si él quiere, porque nosotros como no vamos a querer.
Telasco, preguntarte si te gusta el béisbol. Viene el World Baseball Classic, participaba en los...
He does like baseball, by the way.
He's
from
baseball,
Venezuela. He's from Venezuela.
Yeah.
He loves baseball, and he was going to pay attention to the classic, the baseball
World Baseball
classic that's
Classic.
going on in Miami. Yes, because he's from Venezuela. He loves baseball, although soccer's his sport. Anyway, he was asked about that. One of the reporters said, "You seem physically different this year. You seem to be running more. You seem to be more fit. Is that something that you did? Is that, was that by design?" And he said, yes. He said that he worked in the off season to get more fit because he has to defend more and he has to run more. And I think that's true of all the teams. Jordy's not there anymore to run up and down the sideline the way he did. So everyone has to step up. Everyone has to step up. And let's face it, Messi's a year older. Suarez is a year older. They're not getting faster. So the guys who are younger are going to have to run a lot. So he said that he's been working on, that's me saying it. That's not him saying that. He just said that I've gotten more fit and I have to run more. And, I want to be sure that I'm strong, for the entire game, that I can run the entire game. He was asked about the second half, same thing. He said, we just came out with a different intensity in the second half, completely different intensity in the second half. He said, I was asked about the fact that they have to play 5 games away at the beginning of the season. How difficult is that, especially in these big stadiums and all the travel that they're doing? They've already gone to LA, Puerto Rico, and Orlando in the span of 10 days. He said, yes, that it's been difficult, but they're trying to pace themselves. They know there's a very difficult month ahead. They have CONCACAF champions coming up in 2 weeks, which is very important to them. So they're all trying to pace themselves and take care of themselves. And then I asked him the question about Messi, what it says, just how fired up he was. And he said that what impresses me most about him is how much he still wants to win. Even though he's won everything, he still never wants to lose. He wants to win so badly. And that carries over. It's contagious with the rest of us, because he said, he's our captain. He's the big figure on this team. And if he wants to win so badly, how can the rest of us not?
Right. Well, if anybody can't get enough of this Florida Derby in Orlando, May 2nd, circle your calendars. That's when Orlando will first come to Miami Freedom Park to play Miami. That's the next time they play each other. But until then, in the immediate future, Michelle, a couple of the key guys were back at training on Tuesday, including Luis Suarez, I believe, Sergio Reguilon, David Ayala. What's the latest on some of the guys that are hurt?
Yeah, well, now, they're coming up on the next, they're leaving for Washington, D.C. They're supposed to have a visit at the White House on Thursday. Which we're going to see what happens with the war going on, with the war raging in Iran and much of the Middle East. I'm not sure, but the plan still was, as of, yesterday, we've not heard any change of plans, that the team was going to travel Thursday morning to Washington, D.C., visit the White House sometime Thursday, and then stay over there because they're playing in Baltimore this game. They're playing D.C. United in Baltimore on Saturday. They may have a pretty full roster with 3 more players. Luis Suarez was back at training. Sergio Reguilon, who had been out since getting injured in the first preseason game, and he's the guy who was signed to replace, to try to replace Jordi Alba. It's difficult to replace him, but to play in that position of left back. He was back at training. And David Ayala, who had left the camp for a little bit because his father passed away, so he had been with his family mourning his father's death. He also returned to the team. So yesterday at training, they had Suarez, they had Reguilon, they had Ayala, they had everybody was healthy at the training, which, would be beneficial for them, obviously, going into this game at DC on Saturday.
Yeah, as they continue to get to try and get 3 points to not fall too far behind early on. But yeah, especially Reguilón. I know there was some concern, I think, early on, right, Michelle, that this was going to be a long-term injury. It was going to keep him out for a while. Good to see him back at training for sure.
Yeah. If he can get back in the second game, and he was training with the group, he wasn't training off to the side. And he's a guy who has very big experience. He's played with big clubs in Europe. And, they really do want his experience, and he is a natural left back. So, it'll be him and Noah Allen on the left side there. But it is, really important for the team to have him healthy going forward.
Definitely. And as we know, a few more road games before the road to April 4th and Miami Freedom Park's opening. We know they have DC. We know the Champions Cup.
New stadium.
Oh, my God. Well, it is Miami Freedom Park, but just new stadium at Miami Freedom Park, correct?
New stadium at Miami Freedom Park, yes.
Yeah. Okay. It'll take a little getting used to, but
Yes.
But the point being, they're still on the road for a little bit. Nashville coming up as part of that Champions Cup. They will have one more game at Chase Stadium in the prelude to the opening because of the Champions Cup having that home and home round there in that part of it. But they're going to be on the road a lot, so managing that is obviously paramount for this team. Another thing that'll be here before you know it, Michelle, we wanted to end the show talking a little bit about the World Cup. We've now hit the 100-day or less mark by the time people watch this podcast.
99 days.
99
days to go today. Yeah,
Wow.
99 days to go as we record this podcast.
I guess where are we at on that, and some of the challenges some of the organizers are facing?
Yeah, well, some of the challenges, number one is, again, the war in Iran. I mean,
Yeah.
Iran is qualified for this World Cup, and what's
Yes.
going to happen with the Iranian
Crazy.
team? That's a big question. Will they be able to play? Will they have to drop out? I mean, there's still time, but this is a big issue right now. Just the unsettled situation of the Iranian team and what's going to happen with that whole region of the world. And so that's always an issue when you're talking about planning a global event. It's better when everything is quiet. But that is not the case right now. So we don't, we have to wait and see what's going to happen with the Iranian team. The violence in Mexico, it has simmered down, but it's still a concern with the playoff game, the playoff tournament coming up at the end of March, which is March 26th and March 31st. There are 6 teams that are supposed to be playing games in Guadalajara, which is one of the areas that was hit badly with the cartel violence that they closed the airport there. Guadalajara and Monterrey are each hosting games in this play-in tournament, which includes the countries of Bolivia, Congo, Iraq, Jamaica, New Caledonia, and Suriname. Those 6 teams are going to be playing for 2 spots in a little mini tournament. So Bolivia, Congo, Iraq, Jamaica, New Caledonia, and Suriname. Those 6 teams are supposed to play in Mexico at the end of this month for 2 spots in the World Cup. So we're going to see what happens with that. They put tickets for sale yesterday. And if you want some cheap tickets, I know one of the other issues I was going to mention is a lot of people are complaining about the ticket prices, that they're way too high. If you go to the play-in tournament, the tickets range from $11.50 to $17.50. So very cheap tickets available for Guadalajara and Monterrey right now. If you want to go see that play-in tournament, those tickets are cheap. The World Cup tickets, however, are not cheap. The World Cup tickets are extremely expensive. They're using dynamic pricing, which is the same pricing they're using in this country that they use on Ticketmaster for concerts. If you've been to a concert lately, you may be shocked to find out. I just bought tickets for a James Taylor concert in September, and they're starting at $300 for James Taylor. Okay. So tickets are very expensive in this country, and they do the dynamic seating, which means it's by supply and demand. So as long as the demand is really high, the tickets stay high. When the demand drops low, the ticket prices will drop. So obviously, there have been 500 million ticket requests for the World Cup. 500 million people have gone into the portal and requested tickets. So clearly, the demand is there. which means the prices are really high right now. I do predict that as we get closer, obviously big games like Portugal, Colombia in Miami, which is the hottest selling group stage ticket right now, that's going to stay high. But some of the other matches that are not as high profile, the prices will drop because it goes by supply and demand. So I believe that as time goes on, as we get closer, the demand of certain matches will drop, and I think the prices will drop. But right now, it's very expensive to get a World Cup ticket and almost impossible too.
What happened to the good old days when you can get U2 tickets for $200? You know, now now everything's north of. I can't imagine what if they go on tour again. I can't imagine what their prices are going to be. They're probably going to be astronomical.
Yeah.
If everybody, including James Taylor, is going for $350 and up. You know,
yeah.
I hope you got good seats. That's all I'm going to say.
I did get good seats. I got good seats, and I love James Taylor, and I don't know how much longer he'll be playing, but you know, it was crazy. When I saw the ticket prices, I almost fell off my chair. It's like, wow, for a James Taylor concert at the Hard Rock Theater, you know, in Miami, in Hollywood, Florida. I mean, it's high. So imagine World Cup tickets. But yeah, they need to do something so that the average fan will be able to watch sporting events because, you know, they're pricing out a lot of people, and it really is a shame.
It is. This team is going to be busy on the road again for the next week or so. Like you mentioned, DC United. This game, interestingly, being played at M&T Bank Stadium, not at the DC United field. It's going to get a lot more capacity at the Ravens stadium, at the Baltimore Ravens Stadium over there. 4:30 on Saturday on Apple TV, and then after that, they'll play their first of that home and home with Nashville on the road, of course, next Wednesday as part of that Champions Cup. And we know how bad they want to add. Jorge Mas said it from day one. It's not just about the MLS Cup and the repeat bid this season. It's about winning some of these other tournaments as well. So, and Nashville,
this is a big priority.
The team they played
it's a big priority for them.
The team they played four times.
The CONCACAF Champions Cup is a big priority. They want to win that this time. They do.
Yeah. So they're going to be that. And then, of course, on the flip side of that, we'll have another episode before that, but another road game on the back end of that next Saturday, back in league play against Charlotte. So this schedule, no let up as far as the travel until new stadium is ready to go. There you go. Got it right this time.
We'll continue
the new. And we'll be back with a new NEW episode next week of Inside Inter Miami as we bring you more on how the team has been doing by then. Until then, for Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Remember to catch us always on YouTube and at MiamiHerald.com and follow all of Michelle's work there as well in writing as you keep track of Inter Miami as they continue to press onward on the road. Until next week, enjoy the soccer, everybody. We thank you for watching Inside Inter Miami.